Bringing us to 22.
Ooh, 22. Guy I got a lot of crap for. Everybody thought he should have been in the top 10 halfway through the year last year.
He was in the top 10 2 years ago.
2 years ago he was, but he's not right now. I got to see more. Big Ben. That's right. Big Ben, Big Ben, Big Ben, Big Ben. Yes, he's there. I got to sing again. It's so fun.
I think the bass is even better in this new mic.
I've gone to, opera singing when it's Big Ben.
Sat up nicely.
Oh, yeah. Big Ben, Big Ben. Man, I love me some Big Ben. Yes, he's fallen down the rankings a little bit. I think it's pretty obvious of why. Come on, anybody watching football last year, it wasn't his best year. There's no doubt about that. I don't know how banged up he was. I know he played through some knee injuries and things like that. He was coming back from the elbow surgery. Yeah, I get it. I know he had to deal with that. I still think he's got talent. I do. I still think you can win a Super Bowl with Big Ben. But, it was underwhelming towards the end of last year. Whether it was...
But you were on it even before it got bad at the end of last year. They were through Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
They hadn't lost.
Uh-huh.
They eventually won the division title, 65%, 33 touchdowns, 10 picks. But we were having these conversations September, October, November. You're like, don't pay attention to the stats and the wins. This isn't what it used to be.
No.
What in terms of the optics, what were you seeing even before the 4-interception playoff game?
Yeah, I was excited the first few games of the year. I thought, my arm looks good, and he was moving around a little bit. I know he's acknowledged he banged up his knee, I think in the first week of the year against the Giants a little bit, but then did it again maybe week 4 or 5 where he kind of got both knees in one game. And I thought when I went back and watched film, and I said this because I did this earlier this offseason, where I saw a definite significant drop in his game at that point. Week 4, I think it was, maybe week 5, with just lack of movement in the pocket. Everything became the dink and dunk. Let me look for the short throw. And listen, I don't know if that's all him. But I think, of course, he has a great influence in it. He acknowledged he might have changed some run plays to those type of pass plays. And I also think that, Randy Fichtner and all those were probably bowing down to Big Ben to a degree and to what he wanted to do as well. I still think he's got a good arm to make big plays down the field. I saw enough big throws last year. And I know the other day, Paul, he made a comment I did have reconstructive surgery because he was asked about his lack of deep ball throwing. Oh, I'm sure he wasn't at 100%. I can't sit here and say, though, on film that I felt like his elbow was a part of the issue. I don't think that. He was second and third in football in passing attempts. So if his arm was really bothering him or not 100%, I don't think Pittsburgh would have thrown the ball 608 times, is what I'm saying. And I believe that's the exact number, if I recall correctly here.
59 of the throws short of the first down marker. That led the NFL.
Led the NFL. Became predictable that way. It definitely did. And I don't know how much of an doing he had in that. But lack of mobility, sometimes lack of aggressive throws down the field, all of those things. I think that's where right now I just question where Big Ben is at, and that's why I put him at 22. Yeah, that's really the biggest reason. And I do want to emphasize, I do think they can still win with him. This is not oh man, he's 22, it's over. Right. No, they just gotta do the right thing on the offensive side of the ball to help him and be the best team they can be with this current roster they have.
Yeah.
And that's, to me, what I've said on PFT many times is they got to take the Brady and Buccaneers route. That's what
Which is
protect them, run the ball, and then when we do drop back, we're pushing the ball down the field, but you're protected. We know you're older. Your body's beat up. And that's what happens to these old quarterbacks. You heard me say that about Brady the last 2 years.
Yeah.
That was my problem in the last year in New England. There was too many drop back to pass, kind of peeking over my shoulder. Wait, there's somebody open downfield, but he's already moved on to the short pass because he didn't feel protected. Tampa didn't do that. Tampa was all in on make Tom feel good. Pittsburgh's got to do the same thing if they want to win the Super Bowl and do that.
Harris?
Yes, exactly. They're trying.
First round.
I think that's probably the focus of the organization this year. attitude, physicality in the offensive line, run game. We can't expect our 39-year-old quarterback to carry the team with 45 passes a game.
Right.
Not realistic. So we'll see where Big Ben goes. I root for him. He's underrated in the all-time pantheon of great quarterbacks in the history of football, in my opinion. I think he's an all-time great, borderline top 10 in the history of the sport, I think.
Yeah.
I do. But, yes, not right now at this moment.
And of that 2004 class of the first-rounders with Eli Manning and Phillip Rivers now having retired, J.P. Lawsman retired a while ago, so he's the one still standing. One of the most enjoyable parts of your quarterback countdown for me is that I'm forced to not only look at kind of like, okay, what did he do last year? What were his numbers the last couple of years? It kind of forces me to get in this exercise of pull back a little bit and look at these quarterbacks from 10,000 feet.
Yeah.
And one of the things I wrote down that I came up with looking at Ben at 22, in the AFC North, we haven't seen Joe Burrow yet. Of course, we haven't seen Baker Mayfield and Lamar Jackson in this ranking. They're coming later. So Ben Roethlisberger, the last-rated quarterback in the AFC North, feels crazy to say.
It does feel crazy to say it out loud. It makes me feel sad sometimes. It's one of my problems.
But you still think that they can win double-digit games?
Yes, I do. And I think he's another guy that, listen, he's not going to get back into the top 10. Those days are over.
Yeah.
But if I could see just like little improvement and, hopping in the pocket and moving around that way and, playing the game a little bit of a different way, he's definitely a guy that could be just outside the top 10 still. I believe last year, what did I have
14.
him? 12, 14, somewhere in there, right? So that's where I still think he can get back up to that range. But it's hard for me to put him in front of some of these guys right now again, I don't think it was as good as everybody thinks when they were 10-0 and everybody was trying to shit on Chris Simms. How he's a 10-0 quarterback. Oh, my gosh. How could you have him not in the top 10 right now? Okay, so that was overrated. And then we saw towards the end of the year, there was a lot of underwhelming spots, including the playoffs. So that's where I just gotta see more and got to see a little improvement there to bump him up.
One way to look at how much experience he has, think about how much the league has changed since 2004 when he came in. We played as a rookie. He started playing the way some of these guys are now. Baker Mayfield, there's plenty of guys running around, throwing off schedule. It was different when he was doing it. I mean, he was a cut against the grain, literally and figuratively, the way he started playing in 2004.
Definitely.
He was a bit of a pioneer.
I agree. I think he is a little bit of a pioneer. He's not like a Mahomes-Rodgers scrambler, right? But he had this first off, he's the king of the pump fake in his prime.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody was better at, sit in the pocket, move around. And then he was like Fred Flintstone with the little short steps, and he would run around. He'd be like, man, he's not that fast or that quick, but he's avoiding people, and he's got people hanging on him, and he's still throwing touchdown passes. Yeah. But that's where I think he is underrated, let alone like in the all-time fashion. So I think he is that way. And, here's another thing that I don't know if all fans realize this. They went to 2 Super Bowls, his second and third trip there, where their offensive lines sucked. And I would go, I'm telling you, if you went back, they were one of the worst in football those years on the offensive line.
This is the Super Bowls in Tampa and Dallas?
Exactly right. They were not good offensive lines. He got hit a lot. They had protection problems and all that. It's why his body fell apart a little bit. Yeah, the style of play, but, man, he was getting beat up by not great pass protection and all that. But they knew at that time he was so good at throwing with people around that that's kind of where they cut some fat on the salary cap and did things like that. He was that great to overcome it to where I would go at that time. I don't think there's a lot of quarterbacks that were playing in the league that could have overcame the obstacles with that offensive line. So I'd want to make sure I give a legend, a first ballot Hall of Famer, his due justice. But yes, right now I got some questions about his game, and we'll see where it goes. I root for Big Ben. I really do. I'm a big Mike Tomlin fan and the Steelers anyways because I know Mike and back in my days in Tampa. So it's just natural and easy for me that way.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.